Hi, everybody. Jen Hatmaker here, your host of the For the Love podcast. Welcome so much to the show because we're in a series I love called For the Love of Community and Friendships. It's just hitting us where we actually live. Because really, no matter what season of life we're in or how old we are, our career or financial situation, genuine heart friendships make such an impact on our lives and actually are game changers, I think, toward improving our outlook and our enjoyment. There's so much interesting data tied to the connection between basically longevity and health and the quality of your relationships. Like, so much so that the quality of your relationships, the lack of loneliness, is a bigger factor in your health and lifespan than smoking, drinking, nutrition. It's bananas intel. This just matters. This just matters. And so, oh, am I ever thrilled about our guest this week? Oh my gosh, I so sincerely love her. We're going to be talking about the friendships that save us. I can absolutely relate because I'm just telling you without any hyperbole, I don't know what I would have done these last 3 years without my friends. They were my salvation, really. They saw me through the lowest, darkest part of my life, um, and supported me in ways I credit them with my ability to not just grieve, but recover. I really do. Um, I mean, these are the friends that, well, I tell her this, but when I was getting like surprise divorced in the middle of the pandemic, they're like, we're coming over, we're redoing your bedroom. We've booked and paid for a trip to Mexico. You already have a flight. You're coming. We're not taking no for an answer. Um, they spent almost every day with me for probably 6 months. And so I am a person who knows what it's like to have friendships in crisis and to be so incredibly grateful for them. And so, our guide in recognizing those kinds of life saving friendships and what makes them what they are, how we can nurture them, how we can um, keep them active and healthy, is writer and poet extraordinaire, Maggie Smith. Okay, so Maggie's had her poems and her essays featured in The Guardian and the Washington Post. She recently had an essay in the New York Times, which I mentioned later in the conversation, talking about her divorce. She got divorced just before me, and how her friendships were what she calls a parachute for her through that process. And if that's not enough, her latest memoir, You Could Make This Place Beautiful. Oh, it's breathtaking, you guys. It's a New York Times bestseller and centers on this idea of embracing our losses to create something beautiful. It applies to literally every human person. And so today she's going to really unpack some of the real experiences she has gone through and how her friends were there. Um, they were there to enjoy the good, to weather the bad, to hold it all together when it was crumbling. I mean, really, thank God for those friends. Oh, and she tells this great story about her mom and her mom's group of friends that is absolutely worth the entire episode. So I'm so delighted she's here. I respect her and I admire her, and her work has meant so, so, so much to me. So, you guys, I'm pleased to share my conversation with really just the beautiful human being, Maggie Smith. I could not be more delighted to be talking to you again. Hi, and it's so good to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you too.
Welcome back to the show. Your work has meant so much to me. I mean, we'll get into this, but you and I, our stories arced in similar ways at a similar time. And like, it was a time for me when I was just, my eyes are just roaming and roaming. Who understands how this feels? Who can be with me in this sorrow? Who has any glimmer of like hope for what's coming, and I found you. And your work, your words, it was just like a balm to my like pretty battered soul. And so you will always retain a very special place in my heart. From such a specific time. And so any opportunity I have to talk to you ever, I'm delighted to have it.
Well, same. I'm still waiting for my time to come down and have tacos, but it'll happen.
That's right. The invitation is permanently open.
Okay.
It's a perma invitation.
Excellent.
Although I will just let you know, you don't want any piece of this summer. You don't want it. It's misery here. It's tragic. We suffer. I literally leave my state for the month of July because I'm just like, I'm too old for this.
Yeah.
I'm too old. I'm in perimenopause. I cannot be this hot.
Yeah. All the time.
I don't want to be all the time. My internal heater is already doing what it's going to do. I don't want this. So, okay. But if it's past September,
we're on.
The invitation is permanent for you to come down for tacos. Okay. All right, Maggie. So I've told my listeners who don't already know you a little bit about who you are. And I'm really excited to talk to you about this sort of niche, about friendships, about connection, about community. This is something you and I both spend a lot of our words on. And it's also something that has, I think, historically meant a lot to both of us, but even more so in the last spell. And so let's just start with this. You have friends that you have had for like 20 or 25 years, and they live within a block of you. It's brilliant. I have this too. But what that tells me is that you are a good friend, and that you hold a really premier place in the lives of your friends who love you. And so I'd like to, first of all, hear about them and about this proximity, because I've done this as well on purpose.
Yeah.
I live 0.02 miles from my 3 closest friends. One of them is 100 yards on my street. The other 2 live 0.2 miles behind us on the same street. And we did it on purpose. So I'd like to hear your little version of this Melrose Place you've created. And a little bit about your friends.
I love this Melrose Place, but like minus the like around the pool drama and murders.
Correct.
And yeah, okay.
And youth.
Okay.
And youth. Yes.
And plus,
general youth.
Yes. And great wardrobes.
Correct.
Yeah. So I still live, basically in my hometown. And so part of the blessing of that, of staying put, really, like I'm real good at staying put. And part of what staying put has made possible for me is having long friendships. And I don't know, I'm still definitely in touch. It's funny we're talking about this today. Tonight, I'm going to a concert with one of my girlfriends. Tomorrow, I'm driving 90 minutes in the morning to spend the day with 5 high school friends who rented a house. And I couldn't get away for like the weekend, but I got a babysitter long enough to get there for lunch and like afternoon pool time, and then turn around and drive back. Sunday morning, I have brunch plans, and Sunday night, I have family dinner with my whole family.
See, this is what you do. You are like deeply located in relationships that have longevity.
Yeah.
And it's special.
It is incredibly special. And you're right that I think these relationships have always been important to me. These relationships all predate my divorce. Some of them predate my marriage. Some of them predate my first kiss.
Oh man.
Right. So these are people who've known me, like the real me, for a long time, and loved me before I was married, before I was a mom, before I was an author, before anybody knew who I was. It doesn't matter to them. They get my sense of humor. If I'm having a bad day, they show up, or they'll just walk to me. I can text on the group. Oh. Thank God for group texts. Like just getting on a group text and being like, who is available?
That's right.
for a walk, a margarita, a vent session, a matinee, like who's around? It's just been, it's been incredibly important to have that sense of continuity of people who just are like, I've got you. And it doesn't matter. And they're there for the fun stuff. Like they're there if you have an extra concert ticket. They're there if you want to try a new restaurant. They're there if you're like, I've always wanted to take a train across the country. Who wants to come? I had a friend who was willing to do that. Like, but they're also there if you need help with a text reply, or you have no idea how to fix something in your house, or who to call to come solve a problem. Like it's been, or just helping you verbally process hard things, you know, somebody to listen to you and be like, you're a good person. This is hard. Like even just those two basic replies.
That's 50% of the conversation. Gosh, you are so right. When I got divorced, and I've been married for 26 years. And so we'd had just something of a division of labor, like most marriages have in the home. And so upon divorce in your 40s, you immediately realize what you don't know. It's the part that the partner did, the stuff that he did, that you just that was his part. You did your part. I cannot tell you how many times I called my friends and I was like, explain to me again about property taxes, and like, talk to me about getting a car loan. I'm grown, but I'm like, can you explain to me again about the exemptions? And they're like, yes. That's friends show up for you in ways that you may not even have imagination for.
Yes.
Because you just haven't hit a certain experience.
Yep.
And then there they are. There they are.
Thank goodness. Like, and I think the important thing too is like, you don't know when the hard seasons are coming. And the hard season is not the time to try to make a bunch of new friends to help you through the hard season.
Here.
I mean, you can. I actually, I did make a lot of new friends during my hard season because I was like, oh, I'm leaving the house more.
Totally. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get out a bit more. But I think having those people there in place through the good times means that when you hit that season, it's like seamless. You know, they're just like, they know you, they get it. They've seen all the good times. You don't have to go back and tell them the whole backstory of the thing to help them understand where you're at now.
Oh my gosh. It's a salvation when you're in crisis. That's for sure. You recently wrote for the New York Times how your friends were like a parachute for you during that season. And OMG, so were mine. So much so. So I'd like to hear if you are willing to kind of go back to that season a little bit. Because I'm thinking about my listener today for whom we're all about this age, somewhere here in the middle of life, and life just keeps lifing, right? Like it just does. We just hit loss and struggle and disappointment and failure, and no one's really doing anything wrong. It's just how life is.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny you saying life keeps lifing, because I feel like that's something, I haven't had those words for it yet, but I'm constantly talking to my therapist about that. Like as soon as like all four car wheels seem like they have like the right tire pressure and I'm kind of cruising, I get a flat. Like it's not all four tires in life ever seem like they're optimized, and you never really know which one it's going to be, if it's going to be a professional setback or a health setback or a personal life or a professional, a kid, a friend. You just don't know what that totally. Like when the engine light comes on, you're like, okay, here we go. And who do we call? And, you know, when my marriage ended, and actually when my marriage like was maybe not ending, but I wasn't quite sure, like, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? The people I reached out to, even before my own parents, who I didn't tell. I mean, I wrote about this in the memoir. I didn't even tell my own parents right away because I thought, you know, that firstborn daughter energy, I'm going to fix my life.
Yeah.
And no one will know it was even broken. I have broken a vase while my parents were on vacation, and I'm going to super glue it and turn it around on the mantle. And when they walk in, it's going to be like that party never happened.
Yeah, I understand that impulse so much.
Yeah. Just that like protective, embarrassed about your situation, also weirdly trying to protect the other party.
Strange.
Reputation with my family. And so the people that I felt like I could call were my friends, right? Because it didn't matter. Like I didn't have to put on appearances for them. I didn't have to hide. I didn't feel the same level of shame around my situation with my closest friends. And so I was able to reach out to them and say, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is what's going on. And I think, honestly, other than just the continuity and the time spent, the most important sort of healing thing for me was the reminder of my own goodness and worth. And the reminder from people who had a different perspective on my life than I could have had. Like I was in not seeing the forest for the trees mode. I was painting an inch from the canvas. I had no idea what the shape of anything was. And I was just panicked and trying to spackle everything back together as quickly as I could. And so having people who could remind me of my goodness, my core worth, which I think is so easy to forget in these moments.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And the sense of possibility, like they made me believe in the future in a way that I wasn't able to see for myself. And I think one of the things that our best friends do for us is see us more clearly, maybe, than we can see ourselves and our situations sometimes. And I think they're also better at extending grace to us than we are at extending grace to ourselves, maybe in our toughest moments. So when I was not in a place to know my worth, know my possibilities, feel like I had things to look forward to and possibility ahead of me, my friends were like, we've got you. Like, and you've got this, and you're bigger than all this stuff. Like, and you can do this, and you're not alone.
Yes.
And just those, like, sometimes gentle, sometimes funny, sometimes tough love, pep talks, were everything.
Gosh, it's so familiar. It's so true. And our families are there too, but in the case of like our story, which included a divorce after a lot of years of marriage, our families are so invested in a different way.
Yes.
I mean, that's a son-in-law, that's a brother-in-law, that's an uncle, like that isn't their investment sometimes makes that conversation harder and just a different sort of desperation they have to make it better or to fix it or to salvage it, or where friends have the freedom to see something for what it is.
I think so too.
Including yourself, including you and me. Like they can see me for who I am.
Yeah.
And not because I'm not their daughter, who has to kind of fall into that role. And so there is a time where our friendships are really the truest mirror of who we are and what's possible.
Oh my gosh. I think that's so true. And I think you're right about, our families and, bless them. This is also a positive. They have skin in the game.
Yeah, they do.
And so they're invested in you, of course, but they're also invested in the relationship. And so when friends come in, they're not necessarily invested in the relationship. They're invested in your happiness. Like whatever that looks like for you, it doesn't actually impact your friend a block away if your marriage doesn't work. In the same way it impacts your family who's thinking, oh, what are we going to do for Christmas now? Or what's the summer holiday going to be like now? Well, I guess we're not doing the timeshare thing anymore. Well, I guess,
totally.
And all of that sort of pressure to maybe salvage something that is not salvageable. And I didn't feel that from my friends.
Yeah.
I have just the thing for you. Jen Hatmaker Book Club. We are going on our 4th year of clubbing, and it is just one of my favorite things. We read the best books every month, thought-provoking, entertaining, fun, important, meaningful. I always love it when our members say they would never have discovered or read a book were it not for book club. But the real party is in our private Facebook community. People have made lifelong friends there, finding connections with other women literally right in their neighborhood and getting together with all of our local chapters. So when you're a member, you get so much fun stuff every month too. Of course, you get the book box with the book and a special gift and a love note from me. But you also get a whole bunch of digital resources like discussion guides, custom content, music playlists from our authors. That's one of our favorite things. I also host video podcasts with our authors from each month, as well as Facebook live chats where you have a chance to get on Zoom with me for our month book talk. And you get special access to events, meetups. It's so fun. We are your people. Come join us. Use the code READ, READ, for $5 off your first month at jenhatmakerbookclub.com. So you guys, here's the thing. I definitely play favorites in the kitchen. I have my go-to skillet and cookware that I always use and that I've used a million times over, and typically I don't stray. However, I recently added a new pan into rotation and I'm obsessed. It's from a bakeware and cookware brand called Caraway. You maybe have heard of it. They make super high quality and ceramic coated kitchenware with just a very naturally slick surface. But the real deal here is that it's also free of toxic forever chemicals that you may be hearing about lately in other nonstick pans. But also, you guys, I'm not joking. These pans are gorgeous. What really caught my eye were the colors. Sorry, I am who I am. Like sage, marigold, rose quartz, and this gorgeous silt green, which is the one that I have. Anyhow, I love cooking in my Caraway. Eggs are an absolute breeze. I mean, it's a no-brainer. Sauteing veggies, all of it. And without hardly any oil because it doesn't stick. Their cookware sets also include complimentary easy access storage solutions, like little hanger things for the lids and little things you can set your pans in upright. It's awesome. It's just awesome. No more disorganized pans and pot lids strewn everywhere. So you want to check them out? Don't miss Caraway's Summer Refresh event through July 15th with 10% off the whole site wide. This is also, you guys, a perfect gift. Newlyweds, graduates, housewarming, you name it. Just visit carawayhome.com/forthelove and you'll get 10% off during their summer refresh event. Certain exclusions apply. That's carawayhome.com/forthelove or use the code forthelove at checkout. Caraway, you guys, it's so great. Non-toxic cookware made modern.
I'm curious, what were some of the actual things that your friends did that helped you begin to recover?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say first and foremost, constant communication and a lot of time together. Like just really having a lot of check-ins, like, hey, what are you doing? How is today going? And like not really kind of digging, but giving me the space to be like, today's hard when maybe I wouldn't have reached out to do it. So that kind of open invitation of communication, but also just like, hey, how about I take you out? Like, would you like to get away for a bit? I had one friend who, when I was going through my divorce, I had no idea what to do financially. I had no idea what even to ask for, quite frankly. Like, what does a settlement even look like? Like, I didn't know how to think ahead to like, what's going to, in 2 years. And so she brought me her divorce paperwork.
Yes.
From her long ago divorce and said, this is what it might look like. Look through this and see, like, are there things that you're not thinking about financially that you don't want to sign this all and then realize in 6 months, like, oh, I hadn't considered X because I am not great with that part of my life. Yeah, that was outsourced. Now it is my responsibility, but it was one of the things that was outsourced, financial planning. And having people also who are like, hey, here's my financial planner, or here's what we do for retirement, or here's my tax guy. I mean, just here's my plumber. Here is my, like, I have a realtor friend in town who's like, here's my handyman. Here's the name of a good painting company. Here's the name of somebody who can like fix drywall. Just because I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. The practical stuff of life. My friends, for a while, the constant communication is a really big deal. And I learned this from being in crisis in a solid friend group. So my friends, to me, get put on a master class for what to do for a friend that you love who's in crisis, that the crisis is a while. It's not like, just give me a weekend and I'm going to pull through this one. Like, this is a long-termer, as a long hauler, which is terribly inconvenient as a friend. Terribly. Like, what inconvenience. In fact, I remember maybe a year later when like the air had cleared, I was taking deep breaths again, life was returning. One of my girlfriends was like, we need 6 months of a break, because we went through it together. But during that like crush time, they'd send me texts to be like, is today the kind of day where you want to sit on your porch and lay your head in our laps and we can cry and talk about every little thing? Or is today the day we binge a Netflix show with ice cream on our laps? Which is it? And they were game to do whatever I needed that day. And they did. And so even paying attention to the weird, wobbly interior world of recovery, which is pretty bipolar. It's pretty like all over the place, was a gift to me.
Yeah.
Because there were days I'm like, I need earnest. I need tears. I want to talk through something. And there are days I was like, let's go float the river.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's put on our gross water shoes and go float the river.
And sometimes it's the same like mode, like two different modes in the same day. It's like morning I'm sad. And then in the evening, I'm just really ready to go dancing. So
it's so true. I learned a lot from that. They stepped in. It was profound. I'd like to hear what you have to say about, let's talk a little bit about adult friendship maintenance. Because in my community, honestly, adult friendships are a common pain point. It's just not a lot of people talk about it. Not a lot of people talk about what to do when a friendship goes sideways, or if you're lonely. Like, let's say you up and moved out of your hometown. Your friends would still be there forever, because they will be, but now you live in Philadelphia. And so I'd like to hear your thoughts on just some maybe of your personal best practices, the things that you both try to embody, or the things that have served you well from your other friends that go, this is some glue that keeps us connected in a way that is meaningful and possible even long-term.
Oh, I love that. My sort of role model in the friendship arena is my mother. So
what a nice thing to say.
She has a group of girlfriends. They are all in their 70s now.
Yeah.
They have known each other, some of them since elementary school.
Amazing.
And the like newest friendships are like when they were in their 20s. So like
totally, they're 50 years old.
Yeah, the fresh friendships are 50 years old, right? So
yeah.
So she's known, I think, all of them except one since before her marriage, and they've been together for 50 years. And they call themselves the Boa Babes because they pack feather boas wherever they travel together and wear them. And they have been recognized in cities. Are you guys the Boa Babes?
The Boa Babes.
Right. It's terrible and wonderful.
Oh God.
I mean, it's really something. And so everyone still lives here in Ohio. They walk almost every day now that they're retired in a metro park. They take trips together. And one of the things I love about this kind of like sisterhood that they have is none of it is less important than their partnerships in life, right? So it's like my mom's been married to my dad for 50 years. And the time she spends with her friends is not time where she would say, well, I think Steve and I are going to do X, Y, and Z, but like if he's busy golfing or something, I'll be available. Or like, let me check with my husband to see what he's got going on this weekend, and I'll let you know when I'm free. Oh, no. She's just like, yeah, let's do this. And then she just tells my dad, well, I've got plans. And I find this, and she's been like this forever. They used to have a card club and they played, and it was so loud in our house. And I hated it because I couldn't sleep, though I did like the leftover dips. So just, I think we do something. And I don't know if this is like a Western thing. I don't know like culturally what this is exactly, but I think there's something that we do that hurts our adult friendships in particular, which is we prioritize them sometimes way below our romantic relationships.
That's right.
And it happens even when we're dating. Like we all knew or were the girl who was 15 and as soon as she got a boyfriend, stopped hanging out with her friends on the weekends because she was like, I just want to be with my boyfriend. And if he's busy, then I can come hang out. But if he's not, then I'll be with him. I mean, my daughter's 14 and she already has friends who are vanishing because of, ne'er-do-well little skater boys. So I just think, one of the things that's important, not just in adult friendship, but just all the way through is like really carving out like sacred space and not having it be somehow less than or less important than, because frankly, I think, relationships can end. Sometimes friendships too, but I think they're a little less volatile than the sort of like, the monogamous romantic relationship. And it maybe you're dating someone for a year or 2 or 5, or you're married for 20 or 25 or 40, but things happen. And I still feel like, and I look at my mom and I think, I'm not worried about her being bored in retirement. I'm not worried about her if my dad goes first. Because she's not going to be alone.
Oh, gosh, that's really powerful.
Just having people who are your people. And I think you brought up moving. I don't know how I would do it. I think it's a real issue, particularly with so many people working from home and being remote. It's not like you move to a new city for a job and even necessarily have office culture with people. I think about this all the time. Like, I guess there are apps for dating, which are like, depending on who you ask, like torture or, somewhat successful. But I don't know what you do if you move to a new place or you find yourself in a different season of life or you outgrow your friendships in the place where you're currently living and they're no longer serving you for whatever reason. I don't know how do we meet new like-minded people and start to kind of rebuild that later in life? I mean, I suppose we would have to have hobbies.
I love that story about your mom and the boa babes. That is really inspiring, really, really inspiring. And I love the truth of having robust, deep, meaningful relationships outside of your partner or your spouse. That's real. Friends give us something we can't give ourselves. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What your friends particularly have given you that is outside of your ability to like self-create?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really like belonging, right? Like that deep sense of belonging that just gets completely obliterated, particularly when your family situation changes. I can do plenty of work on myself. I can be in therapy. I can work on my boundaries. I'm still working on my boundaries. I can work on all kinds of things to sort of like build myself up, make myself feel more confident, but I can't give myself a sense of family alone. Right. And so, I mean, for me, that's what my that's what my people can give me that I can't give myself, which is a sense that I'm like a little puzzle piece in a bigger puzzle, and I have a place in it. Even if I'm the seventh person in the minivan going to the restaurant, and often I am. Like, most of my friends are also married, and so I date, but I also like often fly solo, and I never feel like half of something, like, and in the beginning, I have to say, and because there are probably people listening who are like, my relationship just ended and I feel like half of a whole, that it doesn't exist anymore. And I think that's valid. And I felt like that for a while too. I felt like I was like peanut butter without jelly. It was just so asymmetrical and not how I saw my life turning out. And now I don't feel that way anymore. Obviously it's different. The shape of things is different, but I don't feel diminished in that way. And my friends have never made me feel like an extra.
Exactly.
I'm just me.
Mm-hmm. What would you say, like, if you're thinking about the person listening, saying, who's thinking, this is all beautiful. Like, I love this. I love this longevity. I love the depth of these friendships. I love the cadence of it, the inclusivity of it, all of it. And I'm craving it. And for whatever reason, I am struggling to find it, or I've lost it. And I'm having to either restart or rebuild. What would you say to that person? Because you just have a lot of friendship credentials here. Like, you've got some receipts.
I don't know.
Like, you do. Having friends this long and through this much life change, having just rattled off your weekend plans, just chock full of them.
Yeah.
Something here. So how would you talk to that person?
I know something, or I'm lucky. I think that there might be
Maybe both.
There might be a bit of that too. It's like, it's love and trust, and I think it's about being like a constant for someone when there are so many variables. Like, choosing to be a constant for someone when their life is full of so many variables. I'm not super great at making new friends. It's not easy for me. I'm a single parent. I'm self-employed. I'm home almost all the time. It's hard to hire a babysitter to get out as much as I would like to leave the house. So I don't, it mostly happens via happenstance, and often happens because I reach out to someone because I admire something about who they are, their work. I mean, a lot of the people I meet, it's because I'm reading something that they've written. And I'll reach out and we'll start some sort of correspondence. And then eventually we will meet, say for tacos or something, for example. Or a hemplo.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, there's something else to be said about reconnecting. And it's hard, if you know in your heart that you maybe weren't the best, most constant friend to someone in the past, and you've lost touch, and maybe it's distance, lost touch, and that's just, or maybe it's season life touch, where maybe you still live in the general same area, but because of, marriage and small kids and work and travel soccer and all the kinds of stuff, you've drifted, and now it feels weird to just send the text. Like, how much time can go by before you can send a text that's like, hey, I've been thinking about you. Hope you're doing well. Would love to catch up over coffee or something. Whenever you come up for air, I know I'm keeping track and I see things are busy for you. I think there's a lot of like fear of rejection with friends, in the same way that we have in romantic relationships, where we are maybe reticent to put ourselves out there.
Yeah.
Because what if we had an argument with someone and then drifted, maybe we were a jerk. Like, these things happen.
That happens too.
Maybe someone was a jerk to us and we held a grudge about it. And now in the past few years, the perspective feels different. Like all of a sudden, the ways that maybe someone hurt you 5 years ago seem pretty small and not unmanageable or unforgivable. And so what would it take to just reach out, call your friends and have them help you craft a text to someone that you haven't talked to in a while, or leave a voicemail if you're phone brave. I am not phone brave, so I would not do that myself. I would text or probably email, or if you know where they live, send a little postcard that has some little private joke or something that reminds you of them. And like, maybe the answer is like, you don't have to start over now.
That's good.
Maybe the answer is there are people who aren't gone.
That's good. I do believe, I think around this conversation, one thing I notice is that a lot of women who are feeling lonely are kind of waiting, I guess, for Earth to deliver a friend kind of magically and miraculously. I'm not really sure how, where it's going to come from, when in fact we have quite a bit of agency here. Rather than waiting for connection, we can create it. We can be the impetus. We can be the one who goes first.
I have to say, like, publishing my memoir, people found it who I have been long gone from, like people I haven't talked to in 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like read this book and then emailed. And so I know we haven't talked. I'm sorry we lost touch. I feel a little sheepish, or, and it's like really no hard feelings. Like I don't have very many people that I wouldn't be happy to hear from. Like, regardless of circumstances, like water under the bridge. I am 46 years old. Like whatever little spat we had at that, picnic in 1993.
Yes, sure.
I don't even remember what it was about now. And it doesn't, and it really doesn't matter,
Yeah, exactly. Even if that reach out, even if that connection is new, like, and you mentioned this a minute ago, it was somebody that you maybe admired or just liked. And you're like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna send a DM, or I'm gonna find a way to try to make a connection. And you just never know, like, what that sort of ROI can be. And so I think there's possibility abounds. Even if women find themselves in a position where they're saying, I'm starting a little bit over, or I'm wanting to onboard something new. It's so possible.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Sometimes, even often, we're faced with tough choices. All of us, really. Sometimes the path forward isn't that clear at all. So, really, show me a human person who hasn't dealt with this. Decisions around, you name it, career, relationships, family, so many things. And I've been there, of course. And therapy helped me. It helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate everything life throws at you. So you can move forward, not just with confidence, but even like excitement. I've learned that trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. Like the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And so if you're thinking of trying therapy, just think about trying BetterHelp. It's entirely online. It's convenient and flexible, suited to your schedule. Just fill out a really brief questionnaire and you'll get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge if you need to. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/forthelove today and you'll get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/forthelove.
And so, okay, last question before I ask you my last question. So this is a pre-last question.
Okay.
Pre-last. What are you working on? I cannot ever wait for you to continue putting your words into the world. Like, what's coming?
Aww.
What do we have to look forward to?
That's so kind. Thank you.
Oh, it's dead serious. It's not kind. It is purely selfish.
It's greedy.
It is pure selfishness.
Well, I'm not really working on it anymore, but my next book is a children's picture book. Yeah, and
Oh
I'm mercifully
gosh.
for you, Jen, I did not illustrate it because no one wants like my Sharpie stick people.
It's not that. Yeah.
No,
We all have our gifts.
it's
We all have our
not
gifts.
that,
That's not
friends. Not
yours.
that, not
Uh-huh.
that.
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, it's called My Thoughts Have Wings. And actually the seed of it is in Keep Moving. There were these times when so during the divorce in particular, and then also during like peak pandemic, any parent who had school age children during early 2020 to mid 2020 and frankly like into 2021 knows what I'm talking about. Like they're not seeing their friends, they're not going to school, they're afraid to breathe, they're afraid to open the mail. We were all going through it, but at least we had the news and some data and some adult perspective, and kids were just so freaked out and lonely and anxious. And so I had a little bedtime routine I would do with my son where I would lay down with him and he would say, I'm really trying to think good thoughts, but the bad thoughts keep pushing the good thoughts out of the way.
Yeah.
And I know what that feels like,
Sure.
both at 10 p.m. and again when I wake up at 3 a.m.
Here, here.
Yeah. So we came up with a routine where we would fill him up with good thoughts right before bed. And so the picture book is called My Thoughts Have Wings, and it's about the sort of the thoughts that flutter and flap around in our heads. Even though our bodies might be quiet and still, our minds are very loud and still awake. And so how do we kind of like nest in for the night with positive thoughts to kind of lead us into bedtime? So it's kind of an anti-anxiety bedtime story, beautifully illustrated, and it'll be out serendipitously on my birthday next year. So
Fantastic.
February
Fantastic.
13th, 2024. And then I'm working on poems and I'm writing essays. I'm working on a book about creativity right now.
Ooh. Oh, I'll read that.
Yeah.
I will read that from you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
So that's the next
You
thing
have
for
a lot
grown-ups.
to say in this. Yeah, you have a lot to say in this space. I feel thrilled about that.
Oh, good.
Keep going, please.
Okay.
Please keep writing it. Fantastic. I'm excited for your kids' book. What a lovely project, and born out of such a real moment that so many of us shared as parents. Fantastic. I'll be here to bang the drum for it in February when it comes out. Okay, this is last, this question, and you may answer this question however you so desire, be it sincerely and like earnestly or absurdly and outrageously. We like it all. What's saving your life right now?
It's funny we're having this conversation about friendship today because I remember what I said last time we talked, and it was my people.
Ah, yes.
And so we've spent this entire time talking about our people. It's so true. Yeah. I think that for me is like the evergreen answer. It will always be my people. Like that I can just copy paste into infinity. Yes. But, thinking about it right now, this is maybe a strange answer, but
let's hear it.
Allowing myself rest is saving.
Oh, no, that's not
saving my life right now. I think post memoir release, book tour, press, the like level of superhuman extroversion that all of that requires, and the sort of level of onness and sort of toggling between parts of yourself. And, memoirs are kind of crash course in courage and vulnerability. So yeah. So it's like the book process is heavy anyway, but then you sort of add that into the mix. And it was, a lot. And so giving myself, I wouldn't say it's time off because I'm a self-employed single parent. So there's no time off. But I'm really giving myself this time to kind of unspool in a really intentional way, sleep a little later, go a little slower, give myself a little bit more of a cushion, like, do I need to get that done today, or can it wait till tomorrow or the next day? And I know, I know you get this. I am such a like, go, list of things to do. I can't delegate it. Like nobody else can do it. I've got to do it. Hustle. And I don't want to burn out. And so I'm giving myself a lot of slowness right now.
I love this answer. I think that is beautiful. I have to work really intentionally to access that.
Yeah.
Also, single mom, self-employed, also just an achiever by nature.
I get it.
And so slowness is a discipline for me. I'm working on it. Well, I'm thrilled for you and about you. I'm excited about the kids' book. I'm thrilled that you're writing a book on creativity. We need it. The world is so hard right now. It's so mean. It's so dark and ugly and scary. And I mean, even today I was watching the news with all these Supreme Court decisions coming down, and I'm just like, everything feels like not good. Everything just feels like we're regressing. And what we need is a beautiful book on being a creator. What does it mean to still make beautiful things even now? And so thank you. I feel like we need this. It feels like an antidote to what feels harsh and disconnected in the world. So it's the best we could do, is put beautiful things out in the world. It's the best we can do.
Best we can do.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Tacos on me, as previously mentioned, or if I'm in Ohio, whatever you eat in Ohio, on you.
Okay, deal.
And so, yeah.
I want to ride in the golf cart if I have tacos, though. Is that?
So
okay.
We will include the golf cart as part of the package, the Texas neighborhood package.
Okay.
I have some other thoughts that I can work into the deal.
I can't wait to see the itinerary.
Yeah, you're gonna be thrilled. You're gonna love it. And then because I'm introverted too, we can come back and then just retire to our quarters.
That's perfect.
So best of both worlds. Okay, great to see you.
Thanks
for being here today. All right, you guys. I just would be remiss if I did not yet again point you to some of Maggie's incredible work. I want you to read You Can Make This Place Beautiful. I want you to read just keep going. All of her gorgeous writing it's profound. So I really mean that her work was something of a life raft for me when I needed it. And I love following her on socials. It's just thoughtful and just a beautiful, not just writer, but person. And so if you go to jenhatmaker.com under the podcast tab, I'll have this episode. Did you want to share it? The links, and then all the links to Maggie's stuff, to her work, to her socials. She's really just a special person in the world. And just like I just told her kind of at the end of the episode, with everything just kind of dark and crumbly and hard and harsh, she is a light. She's a light, and she just reminds me that there is hope and to keep going. And so, this whole series on friendships and communities is so packed and stacked. And we are digging into various nuances. We really wanted this series to serve you, knowing that this is a really common conversation we are having at our age and at this stage of life. And so don't miss any episodes. You can just subscribe to the show if you haven't already, and everyone will just show up right there in your little phone, and you won't even have to search it up. And if you've missed any in this series, I urge you to go back and listen to them. Everyone is solid gold. All right, you guys, sure love you. See you next week.